In conclusion,
In conclusion,
children are introduced way too early to electronic devices because I don't see the need for a baby to have a device in the crib, but these are things that as parents need to have control of. They need to monitor the screen time for children because these devices send out signal that interrupts the neurons in the brain that children are not capable of controlling on their own. So when they're introduced to electronics and the different signals that these electronics put off, it interrupts the brain. So by the time they are teenagers, they're so wired, it's like being on crack.
I've had patients come in with iPads on the place where a mobile used to be on a car seat, and a 4-month-old baby was watching a movie, and when the movie ended, the baby started screaming and crying like crazy, and the parents said if the baby doesn't have constant stimulation from that iPad, he just goes crazy. But unfortunately, those parents didn't know that while the baby is watching those movies, the same area of the brain that lights up with cocaine is lighting up. So the baby is basically getting addicted to those images at a very early age.
What we realize is that students' ability to focus, effects of technology on students in the school can vary. One, because technology isn't all the way bad if it's used in a responsible way. We have educational apps, we have educational software that does help the students. However, when screen time is used in excess, then that's where we have the problem. We have students who have a lack of focus in school. We have students who unfortunately are not sleeping well because of the increased use of technology and computers at home. They're on the tablet late at night, and so when they come to school, they can't focus in class, and they're also having a difficult time paying attention while their teachers are teaching. So they're not able to grasp the lessons that their teachers are portraying to them or instructing them on, and unfortunately they're falling behind with the lack of understanding for what's being taught every day.
A child should not go to bed with a phone because once the child goes to bed, you don't know what they're doing. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they're on their devices. They get to school, they're tired. They can't wake up in the morning. You know, from a medical standpoint, I see kids coming, they're aggressive. Prior to they've been introduced to a cell phone or a tablet, they weren't aggressive. So now they're being more aggressive. They are argumentative because they cannot control become anxious without any prior diagnosis of anxiety. You're seeing more children showing up in psychiatric hospital for anxiety disorder, schizophrenic, because their brains are being disrupted from all these signals that these devices are throwing off.
So our new medical terminology called text neck is something that is brand new for our young ones. I've been in practice for a very long time. My practice used to be mostly women and athletes. Now it's mostly women and children. And children are suffering with text neck with symptoms like migraines, behavioral disorders, sleep disturbances, chronic ear infections, even immune compromise, all coming from the loss of the normal curve in their neck, which is really there for shock absorption. So we have so many children coming in now with pain starting at 4 years old, 5 years old. I had a little boy come in the other day saying he has neck pain from stress, and his mother said he's on his cell phone looking down playing games all day. And we have brand new medical terminology for our young ones because of overuse of our electronics called text neck. The average head weighs 10 to 12 pounds, but when the children are looking down at their phones or their iPads or their gaming consoles, it's the weight of 60 pounds. So it's like children are having all these bowling balls on their head, causing neck pain, muscular tension, nerve interference, and early degeneration. The earliest one that I've seen who have lost the curve in their neck already is 7 years old. And I've been in practice a very long time. I've never seen that before. In my years of practice, I would see problems like this in working people in their 30s, early 40s. I'm seeing it now in 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And this is just something brand new, and luckily we have the tools to be able to diagnose it, like digital x-ray and chiropractic care, to actually help those children develop those curves back. We also have pillows that the children can be using, and traction devices, mild traction devices that can just get that curve back before it's too late and before arthritis sets in, which I've seen now in the early 20s where it's irreversible.
In conclusion to this amazing presentation that was given to us, I would like to bring our attention to a scripture found in the book of Proverbs chapter 11, where it says, "The righteousness of the upright delivers. However, the unfaithful ones are trapped by evil desires." How does a hunter get the ducks to show up? He blows a duck call. To the ducks, it's a mating call. Traps usually functions totally on the principle of desire. It is in the same way we have an enemy, and he wants to trap you and I, trap our children by manipulating our desire. And so how does he do it? He does it very succinctly, and he does it very skillfully by playing or manipulating our desire. If our desires are unguarded, then he can bring you and I, bring our children to a place where we would never go if it was guarded. In addition to what we have talked about as far as being spiritual with our children and their growth, there is something that is also extremely, extremely important and significant when we are talking about our next generation, our children. God has given us the responsibility, first, as parents, as the church, to be the watchmen and watchwomen over our children. Not the school, they come later, but our first we have the first responsibility. And so as watchmen and watchwomen over our children's well-being, spiritual well-being, and every aspect of their life, it is mandatory that we take this challenge and this responsibility serious. As watchmen, first, number one, there has to be consistency. That's one of the requirements that also to the Lord asks us to be consistent. And I believe that becomes one of the greatest places that the enemy attacks us, is when we move in inconsistency, we are not effective. So there has to be consistency in our watchmen and watchwomen responsibility in the church and also too in the home. Without consistent responsibility being exercised, we are going to negate all that we are doing, and we will not have the proper result that God would have for us to have. So consistency in the home, consistency in the church is our responsibility as watchmen and watchwomen over our children. Self-control is actually essential to a life of freedom and joy. So as we conclude, we are moving in a place now where we are going to be wise with the electronic devices that we have and that we are allowing our children to take into the sanctuary. From the spiritual standpoint, it helps us to bring our children into a responsible place where their desire is not run unchecked. And so they become even greater and greater in the realm of their spiritual manifestation and their spiritual growth. And so What we have seen is such a challenge with the growth spiritually of our kids because of the unchecked desire that is just running wide open to be on their electronic device. So this, I believe, is going to be significant in the spiritual growth of our children and adults, of course, but especially our children who are in the sanctuary, when we are able to have them to put a check on their desire to constantly be on their electronic device. I am excited and I am looking forward to some great spiritual growth in our children.